Hello again. This time I'm going to talk about just two examples, and I think I'm going to spend the whole video of this one on these examples. And basically because it's not the number of examples that you really come across that are, that can be full of comments that I can make, which many might benefit from as well. The examples are two examples from business. It's the same text that I used before, but different examples this time. I'm going to show you these examples. These are the two examples, which are, as you can see, these two examples, key resources. Of course, the key resources, you can say ما هي مواردك. The word here is just only to emphasis. It can be dropped. What's missing from the Arabic is also the bullet points. They are not included, so I inserted them. But what's more interesting is words like financial, intellectual, and physical. Now here I'm just going to say that the word financial, and there's also the word fiscal. Fiscal means naqdi, and financial means mali. When you are differentiating between the two, you can do that. Also about the word intellectual and physical, which I will discuss. Then I'm going to move on to the word how, to translate the word how as tariqa and not kayfiyya. I'll start with, as I said about the word financial, and the word mawarid, and this one is really interesting. Here, of course, for the word financial, it's, of course, al-mawarid al-maliyya, or the finances, tamwil, funds, also tamwil, al-amwal. Amwal and finances is al-amwal. This is another term which you need to be aware of. The other one is the word intellectual. Of course, it was translated as dhihniya, mawarid dhihniya. It should be mawarid fikriya. And mawarid fikriya in a company, what are they? You need to know what they are as a translator. You cannot just sort of guess the meaning and then straight away do the translation. Intellectual here, it means the intellectual property. For example, you might actually be using other people's ideas. And these ideas are, you are borrowing them from other people. These are like consultants, and it can be also books and some sort of resources relating to the intellectual property of someone. So intellectual can be also an intellectual person, means mufakkir. And there's also intellectual means intelligent in a way. We move on to the word physical, because this word physical is quite tricky. Mawarid jasadiyya. And of course it should be mawarid madiyya, because here the word physical means materials. The physicals like furniture and computers and things like that. These are all physical resources that you are doing, even wardrobes and desks and tables and chairs and so on. These are physical. Maddiya. Of course, the word maddi in Arabic, it means either physical or materialistic as well. It can mean materialistic. But here, physical in the sense of material. What materials you want to buy, what resources in terms of that you are buying as material. So that's what physical is. What is so interesting about the word physical in English is that, when you say physician, for example, and physicist. Physicist is the person who is specialized in physics, and that's a physicist. Therefore, you say عالم فيزيائي. Whereas when you are talking about physician, you are talking about a doctor. So therefore, it's tabib, and not to do with any physics, as it were. So the difference is quite quite big. Also, when you are doing something like a physiologist, or sometimes you go to for treatment, physio treatment, and that means also that is معالجة طبيعية. So we say it in Arabic, natural treatment. So physiologist or the person who is doing this treatment, or this kind of treatment, is called معالج طبيعي. Okay, معالج فيزيائي sometimes they call it, but I would not say فيزيائي because it's here physics or physical. It means it's to do with the body, and that is really why the student has made a mistake in saying موارد جسدية, because it does actually mean also physical exercise, like physical exercise. When you say physical exercise, you mean that you are actually using your hands and you are jumping up and down, and this is movements that are to do with the body and becoming physical. You know, he becomes physical. It means he's using force as well, physical with me. So these are to do with the fact that he's behaved in a physical manner, i.e. he has used force or some sort of started to have an argument and using their hands or feet or whatever in a quarrel, in a row. So that is physical. That's jasadiyya. But here physical, it means maddiyya, because we are talking about certain tools, certain furniture that you need to bring. That's why you say mawarid maddiyya in this case. Even though the word madda in itself, material, actually can mean money in another context. So, for example, you are lacking some money, so you need that's called madda in Arabic. You know, عنصر المادة مهم. The finances are important to human life, so that's why you are talking about madda in the sense of money. So the word physical in English has got various meanings to it, and we need to choose which primary, not necessarily the primary meaning, which is jasadi, but it can mean also, or fizyai, but it can also mean maddi, as in the case of when you are furnishing an office. I'll move on to the next one, to the next example. It's about the word how. It says here, I'm just going to remind you what the example is so we can actually be on the same page together. I'm going to show you the example again so that you can look at it again. And here it says اذكر بالتفصيل استراتيجيتك حول كيفية الحفاظ على علاقتك. This is how the original was. Okay? My main issue is in the word translating the word how. Here, of course, the word how is not a question. It's not written in the form of a question. It's in the same way I told you about before about using WH words like what, where, and when, and who. For example, I know who you are. And of course, the word who is translated as not أعرف من أنت. It should be أعرف شخصيتك, أعرف هويتك. I know your identity. That's what who you are. So the word who is not in the form of a question. It's in the form of a statement. And therefore, you would say أعرف شخصيتك, أعرف هويتك. In the same way, I said that before about where, when you say, I know where you are, أعرف مكانك. I know the place where you are, that is. أعرف مكانك. Or I know when will come, أعرف وقت مجيئك, مثلا. So here when is referring to the time that you come, to the appointment. And it's not in the form of a question, it's in the when is used in the form of a statement. The same here with the word how. Detail your strategy on how you will maintain your customer relationships to achieve CA, which is competitive competitive advantage. Here, you don't have to put it as it's not a question. I know in English now here there's an error in the way it's phrased, but it's not a question. It says detail your strategy on how you will remain. By the way, many Arab students might make a mistake in this one because they think it's a question, and therefore they would say detail your strategy on how will you maintain your relationship. It should be on how you will. It's a statement. So in the translation, you would say أعرف أو أذكر بالتفصيل استراتيجياتك حول طريقة الحفاظ. Straight away. Because how means طريقة. I know how to cook. أعرف طريقة الطبخ. أو أعرف. You don't say أعرف كيف أطبخ. أعرف الطبخ. أو أعرف طريقة الطبخ. So the word how means طريقة. And not كيف. And the word where is not أين, is مكانة. And the word who means هويتك and not من. And the word when means وقت, موعد, and not متى. It's not a question. And the how means طريقة as well. So all of these words and the word why, as we've seen that earlier in the earlier video, the word why means السبب. أريد أن أعرف السبب. اشرح السبب. And not اشرح لماذا. مثلا they would say لماذا أنت هناك. And the word what as well. You don't say أعرف what you are up to. أعرف ما تقوم به. أو أعرف ما تفعله. Not ماذا تفعله, because ماذا is a question in Arabic, and it's not a question here, it's a statement. So we have to differentiate between all these words, what, where, when, and who, in the statement format. And in statement format, you don't translate them in as they are questions or as they are tools to be making a question. I hope that I've made that very clear, and I hope that you've learned from this one about this usage of these what, where, when, and who, and also about the word physical and financial, and our intellectual, which means not ذهنية, and it means فكرية. And I wish you the very best.